Become death, the destroyer of worlds. J. Robert Oppenheimer said this after creating the atomic bomb. On Monday, August 6, 1945, Japan's landscape and people were changed forever. The atomic bomb, Little Boy, was dropped on Hiroshima by an American B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay. Approximately 69% of the city's buildings were completely destroyed and about 7% severely damaged. It was impossible to get an accurate count of deaths caused by the blast, but by the end of 1945, because of the lingering effects of radioactive fallout and other after effects, the Hiroshima death toll was probably over 100,000. The 5-year death total may have reached or even exceeded 200,000 as cancer and other long-term effects took hold. After the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, Herbert Hoover, former president of the U.S., wrote to Army and Navy Journal publisher Colonel John Callan Laughlin, "The use of the atomic bomb, with its indiscriminate killing of women and children, revolts my soul. During World War II, the 2nd Army and Chunku Regional Army were headquartered in Hiroshima. The Army Marine Headquarters was located in the Ujina port. The city also had large depots of military supplies and was a key center for shipping. After being selected in April 1945, Hiroshima was spared conventional bombing to serve as a pristine target where the effects of the nuclear bomb on an undamaged city could be observed, while damages could be studied later. The energy yield of the untested Little Boy design could be determined only at the moment of detonation. Damage came from 3 main effects: blast, fire, and radiation. The blast was caused by an X-ray heated air called the fireball, sending a shock pressure wave in all directions at a velocity greater than the speed of sound. Most knowledge about nuclear urban blast destruction originates from the studies of the Little Boy at Hiroshima. The force of the blast wave was 5 psi, enough duration to implode houses and reduce them to kindling. Fire was the second effect. The first effect of fire was a blinding light accompanied by the radiant heat from the fireball. The Hiroshima fireball was 1,200 feet in diameter with a temperature of 7,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Near ground zero, everything flammable burst into flame. Glass products and sand melted into molten glass. And contrary to popular opinion, nobody would have been vaporized by the burst. The detonation occurred over 500 meters altitude, and the fireball did not reach ground. The thermal pulse, while being hot enough to ignite flammable materials at a distance, was short in duration, but these fires went out immediately after the flash or were blown out by the blast wave. The ensuing firestorm, caused by things like damaged fuel or gas pipes and tanks, overturned stoves, destroyed furnaces, etc. The Hiroshima firestorm was roughly 2 miles in diameter. Accurate casualty figures are impossible to determine because many victims were cremated by the firestorm. For the same reason, the proportion of the firestorm victims who survived the blast and died of the fire can never be known. The third and final effect was radiation. Local fallout is dust and ash from a bomb crater, contaminated with radioactive fission products. It falls to Earth downwind of the crater and can be produced with radioactive radiation alone. A lethal area much larger from a blast and fire with an air burst, the fission products rise into the stratosphere where they dissipate and become part of the global environment. Because Little Boy was an air burst 1,900 feet above ground, there was no bomb crater and local radiation fallout. Instead, intense neutron and gamma radiation came directly from the fireball. Most people close enough to receive a lethal dose of direct radiation died in the firestorm before the radiation injuries would have become apparent. Survivors on the edge of the lethal area and beyond suffered injuries from radiation. Some who initially survived died soon after due to acute radiation sickness, but most of the radiation effects are evident only statistically, and increases in the incident rates of cancer, leukemia, and certain non-cancer diseases over the lifetimes of survivors and their children who were exposed in utero. To date, no radiation-related evidence of inheritable disease have been observed among the survivors' children. The bombing of Hiroshima happened after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. In fact, it came towards the end of Japan's involvement in the war. Admiral William D. Leahy, Chief of Staff to President Franklin Roosevelt, said, "It is my opinion that the use of this barbarous weapon at Hiroshima and Nagasaki was of no material assistance in our war against Japan. The Japanese were already defeated and ready to surrender because of the effective sea blockade and successful bombing with conventional weapons. It was the devastation to the heart of the people that would stand out in history for years to come."